Merry Christmas, everybody. We made it. Welcome back one last time to the Single Malt Review for our Christmas Day special and rundown of our Drinks by the Dram calendar exercise where we've run the numbers and we have a final score. What was our score, Dave? How did we do?
Well,
did we have a passing grade?
we allowed ourselves a maximum of 3 points for our guesses for location, type, and ideally the exact whiskey we were trying. So, out of 24 drams, maximum possible 72 points. We scored 41.5 out of 72.
That's on the right side of 50.
57.64%.
Hey.
Why 0.5? Well, that's because we gave ourselves 1.5 points for Smooth Ambler's Old Scout American
Yeah,
whiskey.
we did, yeah.
Because it is basically bourbon, but legally distinct due to the use of some portion of refill casks. So we gave ourselves a bonus half point on that one. Because no one can stop us.
So, not a stellar score, you'd have to say, but we'll call it a passing grade.
And
hey,
there was some
C's
truly,
get degrees.
some truly stellar whiskey in
There was
yeah.
some good stuff. So we thought in our big debrief episode here, we'll go over our favourites and our most hated ones, because they're almost as interesting. But firstly, anyone who's been with us the whole time, thank you so much for tuning in. The response to this series has been really, really, really good, and we've had so much fun doing it.
Absolutely.
That depending on everybody's sitting there clicking the ads, I hope, that this one will maybe even pay for itself, and we can do this again. Christmas. Besides, we can just taste all year round with blind goodness if we're lucky. So fingers crossed for that one. But thanks so much for everyone that's stuck around and has gone on the journey with us. Your support is always and always will be most appreciated. So cheers, guys. You might see our little armada, our battery of little bottles. It looks like so many when they're lined up like this. It's somehow looks like more than there should be, but I can, presumably it's exactly as many as there should be. And depending on how you feel about sharing spit, Dave's going to do something truly beautiful or truly horrifying.
You might have noticed this entire time I never actually drained my glass. I saved a little back, and that's returned to the bottles for safekeeping.
So we're going to make our own world
We're going to make
whiskey.
the greatest or most terrible blend ever to hit. Well,
and I think there's a very, very high chance of something like the Big Pete and its other Isla friends coming in there and just stomping over everything. But we're going to do it anyway.
While I mix, how we discuss our highs and our lows from this
highs and
calendar.
lows,
What was
yeah.
your least favourite?
Least favourite, and I think I'm extremely justified in this, was the monstrosity that is the burnt ends blended, whatever you call that kind of crap.
An international blended whiskey.
International blend, the transatlantic blend of peated, presumably Isla, but it didn't specify, Scotch whiskey, single malt, wasted by being tipped into rye whiskey from America. Just set fire to it. Just throw it over your shoulder, flush it down the toilet, and then charge presumably an awful lot of money for it.
Whereas I liked how just bizarrely confrontational and non-standard it was. It was such a weird clash of flavours. It was excitingly different. I wouldn't go out of my way to buy it and try it again, but I'm glad I had the chance to give it a go.
Whiskey vandalism.
My least
what I call
favourite
that one.
was, sadly, partly it was because of disappointment, because I'm looking forward to it for so long, was Boutique's World Whiskey Blend, like an
that
international
was a
blend, but
bit-
included the only representation of Asian whiskey in this calendar. But it was just so ephemeral, so light and ethereal, no strong flavours, no standout qualities. It was so subtle. It was just lacking.
I'll give them one out here, in that making a world blend is really, really fraught, because the moment you put any whiskey, it's a catch-22. You want to represent a bunch of whiskies and a bunch of styles. The moment you put something truly expressive in there, that's all it's going to taste of. Like if you tipped Isla whiskey into there, suddenly you've just got an Isla whiskey with this sort of background of less expressive malts. And the same thing would have happened if they'd put in some really characterful casks or anything like that. So they would kind of back themselves into a corner there of using intrinsically sheepish whiskey.
I believe there was some Taiwanese and Indian whiskey in there, and if there had been sniffing quantities of those, it would have just blown away any of the more subtle whiskies.
But I do agree, didn't bring a whole lot to the party on that one. Just kind of sat around in the kitchen and made the savouries.
But at the other end of the scale, what was your favourite?
My favourite, and this was a true surprise, and I find myself rarely surprised these days. I guess that's just a symptom of age. But it was a real shock to discover Langerton, the malt whiskey of Switzerland. I'm sure there's more than one, but this is the one we tried.
6-year-old single malt from Switzerland, our first encounter with that distillery. And it was wild.
Yeah,
a truly eclectic mix of international casks, but a young spirit from a cooler climate, but it blew us away. Complexity, depth, richness.
Just everything.
Spoiler, it's
want.
my favourite too. We're in agreement on this
I'm
one.
pleased to hear.
Yeah.
If there was ever an example of just quality distilling, like no tricks, no tomfooleries, no rapid aging, no bizarro casks, no...
I think there were quirky casks there. Boutique
maybe.
descriptions suggested casks sourced from all across
I think,
Western Europe.
but the core of it was just good whiskey.
Yeah,
it was just good
absolutely.
spirit. And it wasn't in one of these turbo time machine climates that you get from your Amrits and your Taiwanese whiskies and things like that. This was chilly old Switzerland, not a climate too dissimilar to probably Scotland, I suppose, not too far away. And it was just tremendous, and only 6 years old. So that's something that's well on our radar now.
Yeah.
It could be extremely difficult to get one of those bottles over there. I'll bet they've never graced our shores, but that's something we're absolutely going to try in the new year. Right, have you finished doing...
I have.
There's so much.
Wow. These were only 30ml bottles. That is 15 mils each of us. And there was just little left over in my glass each time. So,
but also that's been watered.
It's had a tiny touch of water. I went pretty conservative on the water. So there's some water, a lot of whiskey, and
I'm
traces of my spit, just to be
the last whiskey is Dave itself.
On the plus side, the alcohol strength here was consistently fairly high. There was some cask strength for some brutally high numbers. So this is probably evened out at around 40%. So totally safe, sterile.
We'd love to share around here. I'm so sorry for some people who find this. I know there's some people out there that this is a nightmare.
You'll not get a more international blend than this. This is utterly unique and cannot be, I guess, repeated, and probably shouldn't be. In fact, these bottles had different amounts left in them, so the quantities in here will be so.
Here's my prediction.
Strange.
Here's my prediction. All we're going to taste is the Isla.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of peat in there, a good 4 or 5 peated whiskies.
All right, no, okay, no, it hasn't completely annihilated the nose. You'd say this is yet a peated whiskey, but there's other stuff going on.
Yeah. I'm mostly smelling, I think, the casks. It's a bit of sherry cask.
Yeah, alright. Oh, that's not so bad.
That's okay. The peat comes through on the finish. It gets smokier after a second or two.
It was always going to be weird, and I now realised that we've actually done the thing that I was bad-mouthing earlier. We have mixed American whiskey with Scotch whiskey.
American whiskey is such a minority component of this calendar.
It's not remotely as bad. This is pretty good. This is pretty good. It's a bit weird, and it was always going to be a bit weird, but this is actually pretty good. It's way more interesting than their world blend, that's for God's damn sure.
Yeah, the peat is enough, but it's consistently... it's coming through stronger now, actually. But it's not a peat-dominated whiskey. It's just got a consistent thread of peatiness there.
Jesus, look at that. That's a dram and a half, isn't it?
It's a lot, yeah. How do we have so much left over?
Good gravy. Well, because they're all watered as well.
Yeah, look at that hue, though. It's like about half a pint of amber ale or something.
Delicious. All right. Well, those are favourites, our most hated, our favourites. And our best efforts with the calendar. Since we had the one from the year behind, it was probably very difficult for anybody to be tasting along, but thank you for staying with us in spirit. As I say, the response to this one has been pretty huge, and I'm very, very pleased to see old faces and new popping up. I could have been better about being present in the premieres. I know I turned up for a couple of them and spoke to some people, which was really, really good. It's just been a very, very busy December.
Likewise for me. I've dropped by when I can to the YouTube premieres, but
we'll make more of an effort on that one in the new year. We promise. Right. There's still one thing we have to do, but that's another episode. It's time for our whiskey of 2022, and there's going to be some controversy. Buckle in for that one. But everyone, have a safe and sane holiday. Enjoy your drams. I hope everyone got something very, very nice from Father Christmas, and I hope it was whiskey. I hope I'm getting whiskey. One can only hope one's getting whiskey. What better present?
Whether you're celebrating Christmas or not, have a great end to 2022. Hope for good things in the new year.
That's been us at the Single Malt Review, signing out and signing back in for 2023, when we're going to have all sorts of nonsense going on. So tune back in, check us out then. Slanger, we'll be back.